Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Suicide Squad, starring Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, and Viola Davis, directed by James Gunn. Now, there's gonna be some violent, but rather over the top things in this review, so let's see if this works out. Like Deadpool versus I don't know, say the first Suicide Squad. Let's get into it. We open the movie with a song by Johnny Cash, and we start off with Savant, played by Michael Rooker, killing a bird with a rubber ball. And I thought, don't do that, as I felt so bad for the bird. And Amanda Waller, returned by Viola Davis, gives him an assignment and 10 years off his prison sentence. And Amanda Waller comes off like a tool in this movie right off the bat, as I don't like Viola Davis this time in this movie. As she's kind of a despicable character, as she's supposed to be the leader of the Justice League, and so far, I ain't buying it. She teams Savant up with Colonel Rick Flag, returned by Joel Kinnaman, and meets his new Suicide Squad team, aka TDK, played by Firefly's Nathan Fillion, Captain Boomerang, returned by Jay Courtney, whom I now despise with Jason Momoa because of a comment they both made about Marvel, Javelin, Mongol, Blackguard, played by Pete Davidson, whom I also don't like because he doesn't seem talented after this in The King of Staten Island, Weasel, played by James Gunn's brother Sean Gunn, Briscoe, and last but not least, Harley Quinn, returned by Margot Robbie. And the only character I had my eyes on at this beginning is Harley Quinn, as the other characters are kind of stupid. Amanda's control team bets on who lives and who dies, which was pretty fucking amusing. So is when Blackguard wonders what kind of dog Weasel is, as he thinks he's a werewolf, but Flag tells him he's a weasel, and as they jump out of an airplane in the water, Weasel doesn't make it as Savant has no choice but to swim him to the shore, and he's already dead by this point, which was probably for the best. Blackguard doesn't hang on to his position and gets shot at in the face, which was graphic, as it was in his face, and the violence felt like Deadpool as far as the cartoony goes, and everybody else, with an exception of Harley and Flag, gets killed. Even Captain Boomerang, as he deserved to die at this point, as I didn't like him in the last film either, and I don't like him here either. But luckily, he's dead at the beginning, and Servant decides to run away, and Amanda gets his head blown to explode, as the motherfucker is a coward, but thank God he had his guts eaten by a bird after killing one 10 minutes earlier in the film. And that's when I thought, good fucking riddance. We pick up with Amanda's Team 2, which is Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba, Ratcatcher 2, with her rat Sebastian, Polka Dot Man, who's played by an actor I've reviewed in so many movies from The Dark Knight to Ant-Man to Prisoners, and here he will be here as he will be in the upcoming Dune remake, and his name is, let me see if I say this right, David Dashmejian? I don't know if I said that right, please forgive me. King Shark, played by Sylvester Stallone, and one who stole the show from Harley Quinn, in my opinion, Peacekeeper, it's Peacekeeper, played by John Cena, arriving at the beach, and there's so many fucking characters that die in the first 10 minutes, and we're introduced to them as characters for this whole movie from 3 days earlier, as Bloodsport has a daughter who stole a TV watch and is embarrassed to have Bloodsport as a father, as Amanda forces him to join her Suicide Squad, or else she'll be in prison with her father, who she despises, and he reluctantly agrees to it as long as his daughter doesn't go to prison like he did. And these characters come off very fucking despicable, as I really don't like any of them except for Harley Quinn and Peacemaker, because they stole the movie in my opinion. But let's see about this. King Shark does come off a little silly, as he's a group rip-off, as their mission is to go to Jotunheim to protect Project Starfish, to stop Project Starfish. What the fuck am I talking about? And we pick up right up after when everybody dies, as this plot is very dense, and this is why I have so much to say at this point, as this is pretty much all over the fucking place. And some of this heads to be explained. Some of this needs to be explained as is James Gunn doing this while smoking crack, because Super, which I'll review at some point, is roughly violent, and Brightburn, which is a Superman ripoff, was just an okay movie. As so far, James Gunn's best movie is the two Guardians of the Galaxy films. Like, I remember Super being incredibly violent and ludicrous. Sebastian warns Bloodsport about King Shark almost eating Ratcatcher the second, while Peacemaker was on his underwear while asleep, which was kind of amusing, while Bloodsport has a phobia of rats. As this was the wrong time to tell the team that he is working with Ratcatcher the second, which is the stupidest thing to overreact to when the plot of this movie is getting to end the beginning act. They attack a village where Flag is at with his partner and friend Salsaria, played by Alice Braga, as her character is giving me Predators flashbacks, which is so unfortunate as the team kills every single motherfucker around and find Flag is alive, and well, as King Shark spits out a body part and Salsario is a resistance to the government of Jotunheim, which will sort of fight at the end of the movie, and they have to fight against Thinker from taking over the government as Project Starfish came from outer space with the astronauts as they want to unleash Project Starfish against America, as this is so fucking dense, as it was hard for me to follow the plot. Meanwhile, Harley is taken to Jotunheim and meet the king, as he's a big fan of Harley and wants to marry her. And does this remind me of the Joker? Yes, because I was getting that vibe watching these scenes. For example, they talk about marriage rather too quickly and has a bird collection, and she gets a Joker vibe off of this king as they aggressively kiss and rest for a few minutes as he puts on his pants. Harley shoots the king dead and brings up the red flags of a relationship as he says something about shooting children, or killing children, I should rephrase it as, which makes me think after the first Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and now here, she makes me think she's an anti-hero, as when I was a kid, Harley was a villain in the Batman universe. So at that point, it didn't make much sense. A general burns the king's birdcage collection full of birds while the birds are inside, and this is the second time the birds gets killed in this movie. And what the fuck did the birds do to James Gunn in general? My god. Maybe after watching Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, he has a problem with birds, or a phobia of birds, which sounds pretty stupid to me, although some people could be afraid of them, I don't know. The team meets Milton while he's driving by an entrance guarded by some guards, and the team kills the guards, which was kind of a funny scene. It was kind of amusing when King Shark takes a mustache with his finger and doesn't fool anyone, and the next thing you know, they go into town, and Bloodsport explains his phobia of rats, while Ratcatcher II brings up how she became a rat catcher with her father, played by Taika Waititi, as he dies after being caught and gets arrested, as we see her as she is now. And is this the greatest acting ever? Nah, not really. The team gets to a bar to have a drink and blend into Thinker, and as he comes in, they're kind of drunk but hold it together as Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and Flag go with the bad guys to get kicked out for being American citizens, while Ratcatcher II and Polka Dot Man take Thinker outside from the back and meets up with Milton as he drives to the coordinates of where Bloodspot, Peacemaker, and Flag are at, and find them to break them out while they manage to kick the shit out of the guards as they get out, but before they get to the Jotunheim. But they have to get Harley first out of prison from the Jotunheim people, while she's being tortured and annoying the shit out of the guards as she escapes and gets her way out of prison, and she gets a stick that was handed by one of her teammates that died earlier in the film. I can't remember who he is for the life of me, but that's how little I cared about the characters in this one, as the ones who died weren't that memorable. And I don't like most of these characters except for Harley and Peacemaker. Harley manages to escape, and her action scene was okay at best, as I get the impression the DC Universe movies didn't have the money to fix a script from Man of Steel until now, with an exception of the first Wonder Woman film. Their scripts are messy to death. Even Birds of Prey, which I grew to appreciate a little more than Suicide Squad and Shazam, to even Aquaman, for Christ's sakes, as this is better than those movies I just brought up earlier. Except for Wonder Woman, which is still the best DC movie yet to date. They go to the Jotunheim and destroy the cameras while sneaking around putting explosives while having Thinker on their asses. They come in from the rain and blow up the Jotunheim and kill every single guard to get inside the place. And this is a very problematic script that hell James Gunn can't even fix or save at this point. Thinker's Project Starfish gets starfishes on their faces, which has got to be the stupidest idea for a villain I've ever heard. Thinker tells them the Americans kept Project Starfish as a secret from Flag and the team and everyone who from the entire world, while Peacemaker betrays Flag to get what Amanda Waller wants, which is video footage from Project Starfish, as the starfish grabs Thinker and kills him, and this is turning mediocre like Aquaman, Shazam, as DC hired James Gunn to make a better movie than what he did with Marvel, and unfortunately, I'm not finding this as good as Guardians of the Galaxy. The Peacemaker versus Flag fight is making me starting to not really care for this at this point, as critics are saying it as I was surprised it's getting a high rating from Rotten Tomatoes, as I don't get it, and I don't get why it's such a high rating. Peacemaker kills Flag, chasing Ratcatcher II, and almost kills her, as this is starting to sore me as it needs to take a breath. And this movie's way too long. I'm not gonna lie, it really is too long. We move on to 8 minutes earlier, and I'm starting to have a hard time with the timeline in this movie, as Bloodsport, Harley, Polka Dot Man, and Milton and King Shark set up the explosives, and after it's all set up, King Shark looks at a room in an aquarium full of fish, which makes me think they're piranhas, while Milton is killed, and Polka Dot Man kills more soldiers, and the explosives go off, while King Shark gets attacked by the piranha fish, as King Shark gets to the ground and shoots at and kills the head soldier, while Bloodsport is hanging and Harley helps him up, and they, with Polka Dot Man, run from the building, falling down. And this movie needs some editing at this point. It's about 5 to 10 minutes too long, as it needs to breathe and calm down. Bloodsport sees Peacemaker, who's almost about to kill Ratcatcher II, as they shoot each other, and Bloodsport's bullets breaks Peacemaker's bullet, as a smaller bullet makes big bullets explode, as Ratcatcher II tells Bloodsport that Peacemaker killed Flag, and Project Starfish has a name that happens to be Starro, as he's a giant fucking starfish that roars and has starfish coming out of his armpits, to do with the facehugger from Alien, which is squeezing the face of humans and takes over the Jotunheim, while Soy Sorrow takes over the government, and Amanda Waller tells the team to go back and they can't help the civilians, which absolutely makes no fucking sense because she ends up blowing all their heads off almost. But Amanda Waller gets knocked out by an employee of hers, and they decide to stop Starro by blowing it up. And Polka Dot Man shoots his polka dots at Starro, but he gets killed anyways at the material, as the material is starting to kind of sour on me at this point. Ratcatcher II gets the rats to Starro's eyeball and biting it off on the inside, and Harley jumps into the eyeball like it was water, which I kind of have got. I kind of get, but like humor in this movie is unnecessary, and it kills Starro, and goes back on the plane. And Bloodsport finally lets Sebastian go on his leg, and Bloodsport is petting him while while he's not doing any harm to the rat. And before the credits, and that was cute, I will admit that. And before the credits start, we see Weasel still alive and runs off on his own, as the credits rolled to an after credits scene where Peacemaker is alive in the hospital as he'll wake up to save the fucking world, which sets up the Peacemaker TV show. And I swear to God, I'm going to just say it now. I thought his name was like Peacekeeper for the longest time. And to be perfectly honest, I'll watch it because of John Cena, as I'm becoming a fan of his, despite I don't like some of his movies except for Bumblebee, which I already reviewed, and that's even better than this movie. And any of the Michael fucking Bay Transformers films, let's just get to the point of this review. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. This is better than Aquaman and Shazam in my opinion, as the plot is dense, and it really needs to calm down and take a breath. Harley and Peacemaker stole the show, but other than that, those two, I don't really like the characters, as they're despicable in their own ways. Even Viola Davis does better work than this, which is a real shame, as I'm not buying her as the leader of the Justice League at this point. I can't believe this got one of the highest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, as personally, I don't get it. I don't get why there were times the movie made no fucking sense, as the humor in this entire movie was unnecessary, and it's really long. It's a little too long. Like it needs to go in the editing room. I'm not gonna lie, it really is. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me or coming back with me to the Suicide Squad, and until we ever get to the next DC film, let's go save the world.